Hello and welcome to Jessie James Beads. My name is Jem and today we're designing with our Walmart collection. Love the sound of beads. This particular collection is called Storm and it's a bulk pack. Why don't we take this down to the board, take a look at what's in there, and then let's make a necklace together. Jessie James Beads bulk pack at Walmart. This one is called Storm and it's called bulk pack for a very good reason. Take a look at all the beads you can find in a mix such as this. My eyes are instantly drawn to these two feature pieces, but you've got such a huge array of beads to play with here. Lots and lots of detail, and I particularly enjoy a cast such as this, because there's characters for everyone to love. So many supporting pieces. That's absolutely stunning. But do you know what? There's a plethora of these sparkly beads with a gorgeous stripy overlay. So I think I'm going to use some of these to make a bar necklace with a changeable feature. I've chosen my favourite of the beads from this mix, of which there are at least 6, and you could have gone for ridged black pumpkins, you could go for the beautiful frosty grey cubes, there's sparkly round black, there's rondelles with a gorgeous metallic finish, and then there's a clear crackle as well. So whichever one takes your fancy, I've threaded 6 of them onto a 10-inch piece of 18 gauge wire. Now to stop this all from falling off whilst I'm working, I'm just going to roll the ends around. You can use round nose pliers, or you can use your memory wire finishing pliers, or even your bail makers just to hold those on, and in case you drop it, your beads don't all fall off. So let's make that wire nice and smooth and straight in the middle. And what we're going to do is just separate those out and pop that up to one side. Now we're going to add in some 20 gauge round wire. I have a 14-inch length of that 20 gauge just here, and this is a bare copper colour. First thing I'm going to do is to find a round form. Today I'm using my memory wire finishing pliers, but you could use your round nose pliers, and I'm just going to pop one of those round forms over the top and twist those 2 sections of wire over the top so that I have this loop in the centre of that lighter wire. What I'm going to do then is just bring those wires away slightly and to twist those around. So the wire that you're seeing coming down towards the bottom of the screen is over the top at the moment. So I'm just going to twist those a couple of times. It doesn't need to be many. We're just looking to have a round form in the centre, connected by a little double twist. Now before we go any further, I'm going to add some strength to that round form, giving it a quick squish with my flat facing chain nose pliers. Then I'm just going to separate those 2 wires out again and give them a little bit of a warm through. We're then going to find the centerpiece of our heavier wire that has the beads on. This is the 18 gauge. Dead in the center, I'm just going to lay that loop over the top. What I'm going to do now is to twist the wire around the core. So I'm taking the right hand wire and I'm going to twist that twice. And then I'm just going to scooch that up together. Going to use my chain nose pliers just to bring that into a tight little coil. And then if I flip that round so that I'm holding it underneath, I'm going to repeat the same thing in the opposite direction. So gripping hold of that little round piece with the twisted section, I'm going to draw that tail of wire around twice until it comes away like so. So if I flip this back to its final orientation, you can see that we've got that loop sitting pretty much centrally on that heavier wire. I'm now going to show you just in one direction what we will need to do to create the main bar of our necklace today. All you will need to do then is repeat on the second side. So let's bring that first bead into play. My finer 20 gauge wire is sitting over the top of my core wire, so I'm going to draw it around my chosen bead and underneath that core wire so that we get this lovely little haloing effect. Draw that wire around 1.5 times like so, bring the next bead in and repeat. So over the top of that bead, all the way around the core wire 1.5 times. So we're moving from the front across to underneath like so. We'll do that for a 3rd time. Draw that wire all the way around and then just leave that tail sticking up for a moment. You'll then need to repeat on the second side. For the next section, I'm going to need 2 8-inch sections of chain. I've just got some silver chain that I had on my desk. That's what we're going to use today. So you can see I've repeated on the second side, and we will do that process throughout. So what we're going to do is to grip across the wire now, just outside where we've added that wrapping, and turn that down just slightly. You'll repeat on the second side in a moment. We're now going to create a small loop into which we will add our chain. So at this point you can either unfurl the loop that you made or you can trim that away. So a small loop, you can use your round nose pliers or your memory wire pliers as I am using. Draw that all the way around the round form so that you have that little loop shape. Let's add in our first piece of chain. I've gone for approximately 8 inches. You can obviously make that a little bit smaller if you're looking to make a smaller neckline piece. So once you've slid that last chain link into position, we're going to grip across that loop shape, not squishing the chain, not squishing where the wires cross over, and we're going to bring that tail of the slightly heavier wire all the way around until we filled that gap neatly. So you should have plenty. That's gone around twice, which means it's nice and secure. So let's trim that wire away at the end. I'm putting my finger over the top so that the tail doesn't kick up and hit my camera. What we will then need to do is to squish that nice and flat. Repeating on the other side before trimming both sides of the finer wire to around about 1 inch distance, and then we're going to add a small coil to go over the top of our work. So starting with a round form, we're going to create almost a complete circle like so, before switching to our chain nose pliers and pushing that all the way through. Rotate around until you have a small coil, and then you can push that down over the surface of your bar necklace design like so, or you can use your hands to push that into position. You'll need to repeat on the second side. I have now some 18 gauge round wire in a copper colourway, and this is around about 5 inches in length. You can use a 4 or 5 inch scrap dependent on the size of the bead you've chosen for your feature piece. So let's start again with one of those spirals, making sure that you begin with a nice flush cut segment of wire. We're going to create that almost round form, drawing that all the way around before switching to your flat pliers. So you can go around from that spiral beginning point as many times as you like to create a larger or a smaller spiral of your choice. That's what it looks like with just 2 turns. I think we'll add a 3rd turn around. So when you're making spirals, take your time, and you will get really beautiful, neat, flat spirals. Once you have the relevant number of turns that you have in your mind's eye, we're going to use our chain nose pliers to turn the tail of wire away at 90 degrees and slide your chosen bead on. Now you can use any bead that you fancy. I've got a lovely faceted grey oval there. I've got one of those gorgeous white carved beads as well. What we're going to do now is to turn a simple loop up at the top. Protecting your bead, we're going to push the wire up and away from the spiral so it's at 90 degrees to the spiral. We're then going to create a large simple loop, rotating your chosen round form, it could be round nose pliers, until you get this kind of shape. Cutting the wire away with the flush side of your cutters to create this round form where the cut end meets that angle change. We're going to give that a really lovely strengthen, making sure it sits exactly where you want it to sit. A complete loop before opening and closing your pliers on that design to give it some strength. The last thing that we need to do is add it to your bar necklace. So let's open up. Exactly as you would a jump ring, you've now got a small gap, and then you can add that onto the loop we created earlier. Closing up your chosen bead drop, and you have a completed design. So again, you have so many options in a mix like this that you can just keep a whole box full of these little charms and change them up to whatever you fancy before you go out. That is your Storm Glass Bead Mix Bulk Pack from Jessie James Beads at Walmart.